I've watched that 75 times. It never gets old. What's going on, guys? Happy Sunday. Hope you're staying warm. If you're in the, southeast, like I am, North Carolina, I am thankfully so far haven't gotten the ice storm. We just got snow. So thank you, Jesus, for that. Hopefully that holds. The worst is still apparently yet to come. So I'm trying to get my live out of the way now. But welcome. I'm Ace. We're going through it today. I got the 4 things we're going to be breaking down that they do not want you to know about Minnesota, the lies, what they're covering up. It is crazy out there. I'm sure a lot of you have been following the news from yesterday about the shooting. So we're going to break it down because this is a very, very important time in our current nation. I mean, the history we're living in our nation, this Trump administration, is extremely important, especially after what Trump accomplished at Davos last week that I covered extensively. So we're breaking it down today, what's going on in Minnesota, everything you guys need to know and where we're at. So I hope you stick around if you like this show, if you're interested. And if you love supporting the channel, before we get started, hit that like, please. Just hit that real quick. Give it a smash. Even if you're watching on TV, just click down, pop, hit that thing. If you're on X, please give it a repost. I thank you so much for that. If you know some black pillars or people freaking out about ICE, you're going to want to share this video with them. I will break it down to the T about what's going on, how people are lying, how the narrative is getting out there. The media and the left are pushing nonsense. They are just lying through their teeth, which we're used to, but it's important right now more than ever because there's a lot of Trump people in the middle also starting to get swayed because it's just so in their face. So this is an important show. I'm glad you guys are watching it. Sorry if you're watching Broncos Pats. You can watch this later. I totally understand. I'm kind of done. Like, I love the NFL. Don't get me wrong. I'm kind of done with this season, though. After the Niners obviously are out, but even after that, I was going to root for the Bills, and they robbed the Bills. Like the NFL or Vegas or both combined, they literally stole the Bills game. They stole Josh Allen's chance to get his Super Bowl, the best player in the league, most exciting couple of leagues. So you know what? I'm just not going to watch, and I probably won't watch the Super Bowl either. Especially with what's going on at the halftime. We'll see. We'll see. I think the one matchup I might watch is Rams-Broncos, but we'll see. We'll see if we get it. Anyways, love you guys. Thank you again for watching. Please, again, hit that like, hit that subscribe. If you want to support the channel, the best way to do it is to become a member. You can do that in the description. Get a free month off. Join the Discord. Get members' podcasts, members' lives, and also the other way to do it is to send super chats. So you guys can, if you really got a fire question or statement you want to make, send up a super chat. So anyways, let's get to it, guys. I'm going to say hey to the chat as always, and we're going to get into it. So James Lee, numero uno today. What's up, brother? B Thieves, what's up? Steve Bernard, Nick Majors, the one, what it do? Vince Felice is in here instead of football. Love it, buddy. Pat Yoker, what's going on? Danny Boy, oh, Danny Boy. Couples like Kathy Harris, what's going on? Jack Hamilton, all right, all right, all right. Toe Cramps here. Let's see. Dan Stout, what's going on? Juan 180, couples like Cass Sink, House Fordham, good to see you. Nick Majors in the house. Jim Boswell. Mark Marto and Wago Waco rounding it out in the chat. And if you guys are new to this, new to my show, I love the chat. So hit it up. I do my best to answer your questions and read your best comments. And unless you're on X where I can't see them, unfortunately, sorry for that. Where's my neon sign, S1? I got rid of it a while ago. Too many people complaining that it was hurting their eyes. I think people watch on TV the flash of the neon they didn't like. So I changed it. Did I hear the bird laughing when the pickup crashed? No. That's beautiful. Watching on important Eagles fan wants Broncos to Foles the Patriots. Yeah, I'm kind of rooting for that too, honestly. GN, what's going on? The guy that got shot, know the story about the model of his gun? Yeah, that it tends to fire on its own. So we're going to cover all that. So, you know, are you guys ready? Let's get into it. We should do this now. So, okay, so if you guys don't know the full story, yesterday a man was shot by ICE. It's tragic. He This is not something where, he was a leftist protester, and the left is crazy right now. About 5-10% of them are insane. They are, and then we're going to go a lot more depth on those protesters and how it's not organic at all, a good lot of them. I do want to start out by saying there's about 90% of people there who are protesting peacefully, and that's okay. That's America. I'm not against peaceful protests. Never will be. I think it's a beautiful thing. I'm all for, like, say, the March for Life, which just happened in Washington, D.C., where hundreds of thousands of Christians and conservatives showed up to fight for the life of babies and say abortion's wrong. I'm all for that. And I'm all for even lefty protests if they do it peacefully. What's happening now is we have 50 states. And right now, ICE is in nearly all of them. And yet there's one city, one area where it's getting ramped up. And this is on purpose. It's completely on purpose. These protesters are radical, and they are doing things that is forcing ICE to make horrible, tough decisions, but legal decisions in very difficult circumstances. And yesterday was one of them. And unfortunately, a man lost his life. The most unfortunate part of this is that he lost his life. The second most unfortunate part is that he is at fault. And the evidence is at this point pretty overwhelming. You just do not do what this guy did. Now, what the media is saying is that somebody ICE is going around just killing people just to get their way, get their stuff done. It is so far from the truth. It is absolutely insane. This has never happened. We never had issues with this before when Obama was deporting 3 million people, when Bush was deporting people, Clinton, even Trump's first term. We didn't get these stories as much. Very, very rare. And it was not a focus. Now they are doing everything they can because the Democratic Party is at its edge. They are about to lose their future because their only future, because Americans are rejecting them left and right, is to have all these immigrants come in, vote, scam us out of our money, which cycles back to them in many ways, and just keep this push going on. So it's disgusting. It is atrocious, and it's what the media is failing to cover. So we're going to go through it today and show you what actually happened. So social media videos from the Minneapolis incident was Alex Pretti. An agent disarms Pretti, pulling a Sig Sauer from his waistband while he's pinned down. As the agent steps back holding the gun, a puff of debris and recoil appear, widely seen as accidental discharge from the Sig. Some speculating the ground shot may have startled nearby agents. So you guys decide for yourself, but we're going to go through a couple of these angles. Thankfully, it's not too brutal. So if you have a queasy stomach, in the videos where the guy gets shot, you barely see anything. So, but I do understand if you don't want to watch. But you see right here, he had his gun, pulling it back, and then you hear the shots. All right, this is just one angle. Here's another one. This breakdown is very good. From the Andrew Bonkas show. Video matters in the Minneapolis Border Patrol shooting. Suspect was actively resisting. Multiple agents attempting to compel compliance. Suspect straightened up with a firearm in hand. I'm going to play this video so you guys can see it for yourself.
So the struggle begins. He's being dragged down, trying to compel compliance. Strikes, open palm strikes to the face. There, see the hands open. It's not being punched. Try to compel compliance. The guy who's crouched over under that silver bar, he's going to straighten up. This is when the shot is fired, right here. And I don't see that elbow prior to this point. Go a few seconds more. There's the elbow. That image with the crooked elbow occurs, I believe, after this image, occurs after the first shot has been fired. You see the guy who's not all the way to the left, but he's kind of bent over there. He's right by that vertical silver bar in the windows, that guy. He straightens up here, and right then, and he's got a gun in his hand, right then is the first gunshot. And then there's a slight pause, and there's a flurry of shots after that. So that could have implications for what happens. I hear rumors that this cop's pulling away with that gun, holding it out to the right, away from the suspect as he is, because that may be the suspect's gun. This says, person shot in Minneapolis today by Border Patrol pulled the gun beforehand. The man also had 2 loaded magazines. This is a still frame from the video. I noticed this too. This is the suspect here, the lower body here, just below that letter N on the window. That's the suspect. And you can see his elbow is crooked as if he's reaching for his waistband. So that looks bad. A shot has already been fired at this point, I believe.
Okay. So you guys can see there's so many angles on this. And what I want to emphasize is this, like, oh, there go the dogs. Sorry, guys. No matter how you look at it, and it is clear they took the gun away, and no matter, but that doesn't ultimately matter. Okay, I think a lot of people are missing the point here. Whether or not he was pulling the gun, whether or not they were directly threatened, couple problems. Okay, A, it's pretty clear something went off that spooked the officers. Secondly, is that he had a gun at a protest and was getting up in their faces. If you're going to protest, be at a protest with a gun, you have a responsibility if anything goes on with law enforcement to be like, announce it. I have a gun. I'm not going to use it. Hands up. He didn't do that. Number one. Number two, the other responsibility you have is to stay out of the way, because if you're at a protest with a gun, you're going to be the number one threat. They're already on edge no matter where you are, no matter what protest is. If it's getting any kind of rowdy, the cops are always going to be on edge. Law enforcement is, and they should be, because if they are not, they can easily be killed. It is their training to be on edge. These are almost war zones, not quite, but although it's starting to turn into one. And so no matter how you slice it, if you show up to a protest with a gun and act the way this guy did, you are endangering your life. There's no other way. This is literally no argument. I don't care if you're pro ICE or anti-ICE. I don't care if you're pro illegal immigration or anti-deportation. I don't care where you stand on the political aisle. There is no argument that showing up to a protest with a gun and getting up in their faces is stupid. And this guy did not have to die. Now, it gets even crazier and just perfectly exemplifies how insane this guy was and how unwise he was. But you have here on, this is Bovino, who is head of DHS or working with ICE and DHS, one of the heads. He talking about how the guy was using his SUV to intimidate ICE and get in their way. So listen to this.
Because what you were saying is that he went there to try to stop this law enforcement operation. All of the video that we have seen shows him documenting it with his cell phone, which is a lawful thing to do. And the only time he seemed to interact with law enforcement is when they went after him when he was trying to help an individual who law enforcement pushed down. So where do you have the evidence to show that he was trying to impede that, that law enforcement operation?
Sure, Dan, at first he was there in the scene. He was in the scene actively impeding and assaulting law enforcement to the point.
But that's not illegal. He wasn't Dana, impeding it. He was filming it, which is a legal thing to do in the United States of America.
Dana, let's don't freeze frame adjudicate this now. He was there for a reason, and that reason was to impede law enforcement to the point.
What evidence do you have of that?
And here's a good point, Dana, is the fact that de-escalation techniques were utilized during this action. Those de-escalation techniques, whether it was physically trying to remove them from that law enforcement scene, that active law enforcement scene in which law enforcement were going after a violent illegal alien, or the use of pepper spray, which is another de-escalation technique. Those techniques did not work.
All right. So again, you see he was there the whole time. This is their reporting. Again, whatever you look at, but this is, here's the gun. Okay. And these Sig Sauers, this model, which P3320 by what I'm seeing in the chat, they're known to go off. So this is the other part of the tragedy. All right, they were already on edge from this guy. He's up in their faces doing all this crazy stuff, just like the woman who was shot a week ago with the car, just doing all kinds of insane things you don't do around law enforcement. Now, this gun is known for going off. So when they moved it, dropped it off, it's very probable that this thing went off on its own, which spooked the officers. So again, tragedy, yes. We don't want American citizens dying. Okay, we just don't. But at the same time, this is the kind of thing they are asking for. And I hate to say it because this is just, this is like a bold statement. But unfortunately, I believe it's also deeply true. It's that this is what the left wants. The people in power on the left, they want martyrs. They are trying to let this stuff happen so that it gets to push the narrative against ICE, because regular people see this. They show it on ABC, NBC, Fox. They do it without context, without telling the whole story. And all you see is ICE agents killing an American. And when you see that, it is a powerful, powerful thing to see. And most people, unfortunately, don't ask questions. They don't say why. All they see is a horrific thing. And then they say, oh my God, everybody's right. The left is right about this. The media is right. This is insane. You know, it's insane. But honestly, it takes 2 seconds to critically think through this. But most people won't do that, even that much work. And once you dig into the evidence, it just gets even more overwhelming. As this is part of it. He had 60 rounds of ammo on him. That's not what you do in your self-defense. You might have one clip with you, a couple rounds, but that's it. 60 rounds is looking for a fight. 60 rounds is having a plan. Now, on the ICE, you know, this just shows that this guy was going, maybe not to go blow people up, but he was ready for it in case. He was ready for a fight in case. And that alone makes him dangerous. He wasn't looking to just keep himself safe. No, he was looking for a fight and ready for it just in case. Now, what I'll say is that he legally had his gun, but as soon as he was deterring them from getting the illegal immigrant, it became a crime because he was getting in the way of law enforcement, in which case now he no longer legally had a gun. See, this is a lot of nuance. And unfortunately, in today's world, we don't do nuance very well. That's why, you know, shows like mine don't have a lot of people watching them. Because people want the bombastic. People want the adrenaline rush. They want to get angry. They don't want to think these things through. And yet, all that's happening is a bunch of law enforcement is enforcing the law. And that's all that's happening from the Trump side of things. But what's happening on the other side, and why this is getting escalated, is you have a bunch of crazy people, especially leadership on the left, choosing to not enforce the law. And even further than that, it's not like they're just not assisting. They are impeding and impeding these officers from doing the law. This is very much a federal versus a regional issue, which technically it gets in the realm of civil war very quickly. So this is ramping up on purpose, and this guy is going to be seen as a martyr. And so we're off to the next lane of where this is headed. I mean, it's going to, the heat is ramping up. The rhetoric is ramping up. And guys, we need to be praying for our nation. We really do. Now, thankfully, I really believe the Trump administration knows what they're doing. I really do. I think they've planned for this. They know what the left's tactics are. They know what these domestic terrorists do. And what they have to do, though, is continually try to get the message out so that the people are ready when it comes time to crack down even harder. Now, I'm going to react to some of the comments here, and then we're going to move on to actually breaking down who is protesting, because more and more evidence is coming out that these protesters are not organic at all. Lochtefeld over on Rumble, what's going on, buddy? He says Minneapolis is off the hook, and Dana Bash has zero credibility. That's 100% true. Jim Boswell says Mexico's orchestrating protests with them. I haven't seen that, but I believe it. Pat says grandson went to the march. 3 busloads of high school kids for March for Life. That's awesome. That's awesome. Jim says if a person has a concealed carry permit, they should have told the law enforcement people that they have one. 100%. Yes, you must announce it. Great. Don't see hoods going to protest with a gun. They put it up and stay home. Exactly. 100%. This is the point. You guys have that common sense. You guys know, which is why you watch shows like this. It's, because you're actually trying to learn. You want the nuance. You want the real story. But unfortunately, most Americans don't, which is why we have to push this out as much as possible and get it all out there. Were they trying to arrest the woman who got thrown on the sidewalk? I don't know about arresting her, but she was getting up in their face about an arrest they were trying to do. Okay, let's go on because this is crazy. This story is getting crazier by the minute. All these stories, actually. Look at this. So today, this is the protesters in general, how out of control it's getting. DHS agent, part of their finger bitten off by a protester. How disgusting is this? These people, it's like animals. It is. I don't know how. I do know how, but I had a quick debate with somebody last night, somebody I'm very close to, who was just upset, and they were like, the world's falling apart, and then the ICE shooting, and I was like, yeah, but do you know what really happened? And I had to talk to this person and be like, they just had no clue that the guy had a gun. And when I said that, it was like, oh, they had it legally. It's like, but there was no thought and no processing because they only were getting their news from one place. They didn't put it all together, what's actually happening. And they don't see this kind of stuff. It's just absolutely freaking insane what we're seeing. The leftist writers, Minneapolis Channing, burned down Fort Snelling, the location of ICE's facility. So you wonder why the ICE agents are on edge?
Burn down Fort Snelling! Burn down Fort Snelling! Burn down Fort Snelling! Burn! No fear! Immigrants are welcome here! No fear! No fear! Immigrants are welcome here! No fear! Immigrants are...
They have food set up. They have food stands. Tim Walz just sent in the National Guard, and with the National Guard, they are being told. Now, remember, right now the governor is in charge of the National Guard. He's forcing them to feed them. Just forcing the National Guard. Look at this. Tim Walz, National Guard, ordered to hand out coffee and donuts. I guarantee you these guys aren't on the side of the protesters. Doesn't matter where they're from. But they have to follow orders as long as those orders are legal. And no matter how humiliating they are, which this has got to be absolutely humiliating for the National Guardsmen to be doing this. It's crazy. I guarantee you that the vast majority of the guys in the National Guard, they're on the side of ICE. And that's not just, how do I speculate that? Because we all know the vast majority of people in the military are conservative. Trump people types. My brother-in-law, I should say, who's in the Army. He's an Army Ranger. He actually trains Army Rangers now. He's one of the best trainers in all of America. He's been there for 15 years, and he is he's a lib. I don't understand how. I've had this talk to him. He hates Trump, but I was asking him. I was like, yeah, but do the military guys hate Trump? And he's like, no, they love him. So I'm just telling you, anybody who's in there, this is humiliation. Now, if it keeps ramping up, Trump can take over the National Guard and it'll be a different story. But for now, this is what Tim Walz called them in to do. Called them in to do this and create blockades. So this story is breaking right now. And this is just going to show you how inorganic this is. So, expose: radical leftist vigilantes in Minneapolis run 24/7 spy network, stalk and assault ICE agents with local PD aiding with politicians involved. From Cam Higbee. There's screenshots, recordings show admins, including local political candidates, directing chasers to harass vehicles. They're doing this through signal chats, set to be erased and reset at midnight. Voice calls cap at 50 for real-time alerts. Vetted subgroups like Wolfpack handle night ops. Military salute reports detail vehicle plates. Radicals are told to pursue and block federal vehicles. Apparently they have a home base or operations they use. Messages auto-delete. Local PD tips it off if ICE disrupts safety. As it says, this is called domestic terrorism. And you can see this right here. Here's Cam Higbee himself. I've infiltrated organizational signal groups across Minneapolis with sole intention of tracking down federal agents, impeding, assaulting, obstructing them. And this is wild. You can see he's going through all the members of the signal group where they are organizing to take out ICE, stop ICE from doing what they're doing. This is not protesting. Protesting is when you have a disagreement with a law or a policy and you show up and you make your voice heard and you keep making your voice heard and you hope to sway the public so that laws will change. Politicians will change their minds. That is protesting. That is legal and it's wonderful. It's part of what makes America great. This is not protesting. When you are organizing and plotting to stop law enforcement, whether you like it or not, from doing their jobs, you are technically a domestic terrorist. Actually, I should say literally a domestic terrorist, because a terrorist doesn't just mean you're impacting terror. It means you're fomenting chaos. And when law enforcement is unable to do its job, that is chaos. And that is what they're doing. They're fomenting chaos. And so this is very, very damning. You cannot unsee this once you've seen it. Tim Pool reports this group of evidence of conspiracy. King Higbee reveals that Alex Pretti, the guy who was shot, was part of the signal group. And then you have this. Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan is one of the admins. This, my friends, is sedition. This is an elected official in Minnesota. And they are helping run the protests. Of course, she's a liberal white woman. Why wouldn't she be? But this is insane. The fact that they are tying this woman to this and they found out that she is a part of it, it's not treason unless she's working with a foreign power. So it's always careful to do that. But this is sedition. This is actively plotting against your own federal government. Now, as I was talking to this person last night, as they were saying, this is unjust laws. Like, I don't agree with these laws. And I said, that's fine. I don't care. The fact is, though, and they were like, Minnesota doesn't agree with these laws. Why should they? I say, because we are part of a country. We have all decided to be under this government. And whether you like it or not, you submit to those laws when you're a part of it. And Minnesota has a choice. If they don't want to follow these laws, they can secede. But what you do not do is counter basically like RICO conspiracy. You don't do that against your own government that you choose to be a part of. You don't do that. That, my friends, is breaking the law, and that should come with immense consequences. Now, we're going to get to what I think the response will be here soon in a minute. But look at this. Recently revealed signal chats show this felonious paramilitary operation to disrupt ICE operations formerly coordinated with Minnesota's lieutenant governor and other elected state officials. Criminal conspiracy of immense and troubling magnitude. And you see right here, this isn't a protest operation. Anti-ICE activists, this is Fox News. Minneapolis rapidly track, dox, and harass anyone they believe tied to ICE. They take pictures of you, your license plate. I believe they've had 5,000 license plates uploaded their database. I'm sorry. It's 50 license plates, 5,000 people in the signal group. That's what it was. Follow you, harass you, try to stop activating. Who's organizing this? Well, again, we know ties to Minneapolis government. And I gotta tell you, if they are in this, Lieutenant Governor Tim Walz, their leadership on the Democratic Party, it goes higher. Now, is any of this coincidental that this is happening the same week after Trump went up to Davos and broke the deep state in front of everybody, broke the globalists in front of everybody, told them the Great Reset will never happen. You guys are done. Told them your time of screwing us is over. He literally used those words. You guys can't exist without us. We are changing the rules. We are changing the relationship. I'm creating a new board of peace that will rival the UN, probably take it over. And I'm doing it with all the people you guys don't pay attention to or don't like. Yeah, he just took it back. The world stage is ours again. We are going to run this joint the way we want to, not by controlling everybody, but by asserting our sovereignty. He did that, and they are freaking out about it. And what happens this week? Things ramp up in Minnesota. It's all tied together. These people all know each other. The deep state, the uniparty, all that control, all those intel agencies start over there. Trump went to break it. He is successfully breaking it. And now their last choice, their last attempt is to create civil war here. They lost their chance to start World War III. That's gone now. They have no more control. They are so weak. Trump got Venezuela, one of their hubs. He's ending Ukraine, Russia. He's making relationships with Putin. His Middle East peace is holding, except for Iran, but we'll get to that. But Iran's not going to spread, okay? Because now the Middle East is all coming together. It's wild. We are in very, very amazing times, but they're not going down until they've unleashed every single thing they have in their toolbox. And the last thing left is to try and create a civil war here so that the Trump administration makes mistakes. And if they make mistakes, they lose the voters. And if they lose the people, the left will work its way back in. That is the plan. And that brings us to the Insurrection Act. Why has Trump not called it yet? Well, this is the third thing nobody's talking about, at least not that I'm seeing. I'm seeing so many calls for the Insurrection Act, and trust me, I get it. I want to see it. I want to see it unleashed. I want to see this put down. I do. But I don't want it used in a way that hurts us. And that's where we have to trust Trump and his timing and the way he's wielding it right now. Here is an excellent breakdown of where I think we're at. So this account put, I know so many of you want Walson Frey arrested on federal charges. I literally just saw that in the chat. Brian Ryder writes, Walson Frey should be in prison. I know so many of you want Trump to invoke the Insurrection Act tonight, send the 82nd. I get it. I feel you. Truth is, I'm really happy Trump's being circumspect on both things at the moment because I think it's smart. As a casual student of Trump, I believe he has a tiered set of priorities he regularly sticks to. Top priority, MAGA. Second, get Vance in 28. Third, win the midterms. Trump will always order his priorities and act on the most important ones. In this case, I believe his team has deeply effective private polling that shows the following. Despite the media, a majority of Americans blame Democrat politicians or a web of brown shirt goons and useful idiots for the violence. Opposite 2020. Longer this goes on, more people will blame the Democrats. Trump is viewed positively currently by a majority as using measured strength, which I do agree with that. If Trump invokes the Insurrection Act and or arrests Walson Frey, the polls flip dramatically against Trump. Dems become sympathetic and Trump's seen as starting a civil war. I actually believe he's probably right here because of the conversations I've been having. Right now, the narrative is being slightly controlled by the left because they have the easier path to their narrative. All they have to say is ICE bad, look at what they did. They don't need context, anything. People just see Americans getting shot. And all they have to do is lie or present it without context, and that is emotionally powerful. And as someone who's worked in marketing for several years, I can tell you emotions are more powerful than logic. Scott Adams would always teach on this. Your emotions are actually what ultimately make your decisions. You can lie to yourself and believe it's your logic, but it's ultimately your emotions. And so he's saying right here, it's not time because the people aren't feeling that yet. And I tend to agree with that because right now, right after a guy got shot by ICE, okay, it's not, if it was ICE officers getting shot and we were seeing dead ICE officers getting shot by protesters, it would be flipped, completely flipped, no matter what the truth is behind it. But that's not where we're at. So I believe Trump's still holding it, and it will come to a point where he might have to use it. Do not get me wrong. But if it goes too soon, and believe me, this is where we have to trust our leader. We have to trust the guy who has the best political instincts of anybody I've ever seen. I really believe that. I think he's on the level of Lincoln, Roosevelt, and Washington when it comes to political instincts. Okay? Because you can not like Franklin Roosevelt, but there's no arguing his political instincts were A+ top notch. I mean, he got elected 4 times. So his political instincts are a superpower. We have to trust Trump's read on this. Okay? So if he's right and you invoke the Insurrection Act at the wrong time, it completely flips the narrative, and all of a sudden the Trump dictator narrative, they have more ammo behind it, and people's emotions go with it, because right now they are slightly winning the narrative battle. But the thing we have going for us is the American people want deportations, and the American people in general are favorable of Trump's policies. What they're not favorable of is their fear that Americans are getting shot and ICE is going too far. So that has to settle down, and the protester narrative has to build. This has to get exposed, that these are actually bad actors. We have to get to the point where people get tired of that. And once they do, the Insurrection Act can be called. I don't know. It could flip in a day. That's how volatile all this is. But it can't be today. You understand? It can't be the last couple of weeks after these shootings. So I agree with this. And he says, for this reason, I believe Trump's prudently showing restraint in the present moment, and the landscape could shift at any moment. And then he adds, also part of the plan may be invoke it the day after he wins the midterms and have 2 years to prove it. That's also possible. But you can tell they are planning on having it ready. As it says, U.S. troops assigned to 4th Infantry Division out of Fort Carson have also been put on prepare to deploy orders for Minnesota, told by a U.S. official. So, by Nancy Youssef, reporter, journalist, so from the Atlantic. Not saying the Atlantic's telling the truth, but this is the kind of stuff that normally she has no reason to throw that out there. So, what do we know? It could happen at any moment. It could. But why hold it? Because you have to do it at the right time. And right now, I'm telling you, there's far too many people getting sucked up into this. Every once in a while, I don't like to do this very often because X is where you actually get news. But every once in a while, I go into my old Facebook, and on my old Facebook account is a bunch of old friends and family members who are what you would call normies. They get their media diet from mainstream media for the most part. The best of them get it from Fox News usually, which is still not the best. So you can imagine what it's like over there. And when I go there, this is concerning. This is not what I voted for. I'm worried about this. And there's very few people trying to bring logic to it. So I always go there for the temperature of what I call middle America. The people who are maybe a slightly more conservative, but also not fully in on what's going on. And so until that starts flipping the other way, it's too early for the Insurrection Act. So that brings us to this last part I wanted to cover, which is that it's really important. I know the Atlantic is leftist, Lochtefeld. It is. But it doesn't mean they're lying about something like this. Okay. It's still report. And this is just basically, I know it's hearsay, but it's just a quick statement. It's not like trying to, she's not putting any spin on it. Let me put it that way, and that's when you read, and I'm not saying maybe, I don't trust 100%, but it's trustworthy enough to say it's probably true. Okay. So, but this is the last part that's important, especially for anybody on the fence of what's going on. And that is this: ICE is actually doing their job. And it's very important to recognize this. It's important to tell your friends and family and that one of the reasons Minnesota got ramped up is because this crazy amount of fraud from illegal Somalians. As Trump just posted, it's possible the total amount of money stolen over the years by corrupt politicians, fraudsters from Minnesota could exceed $100 billion. Whether it is or isn't, fraud is massive. Other states will be worse. So that's why they're there right now. This is what they're targeting. 20 sex offenses, including rape, 8 sex offenses against children, 6 domestic violence, 5 for homicide. This is who Minneapolis doesn't want to be busted, deported, caught. This is who they're protecting. ICE isn't there just looking for regular old illegal immigrants. Like, that might eventually happen, but you can't start there. You start with these guys, and that's exactly what ICE is. These are what they're actually looking for. This is the files. Somalia, Laos, Vietnam, Cuba, Mexico. These are the people and their crimes. And this is what's being protected. This is important. This is important to tell people. ICE is not just there to just get regular people. They are going after the criminals, and Minnesota is protecting them. This is from ICE. This is just from 2023. Imagine what it is now. And all the numbers always lull a little bit. They have to process them for a couple of years, get them down. But in 2023, even the Biden administration recorded 33,200 instances of assault by illegal aliens, 4,400 sexual assault crimes by illegal aliens, 1,700 homicides, 1,650 kidnappings. Guys, this is a pandemic of crime, or an epidemic of crime by illegal aliens. Obviously, not all of them are bad. I'm not saying that. They shouldn't have come here, but it doesn't mean they're bad people. They saw an opportunity, they took it. Right or wrong, that's what it was. They saw a president who was like, opened the door and was like, come over here. So, it is what it is. But there are so many of them that are criminals. There's so many of them brought here for the wrong reasons. And this is who ICE is deporting. And this needs to be known. These numbers need to be known. They need to be spread. They need to be shared so that that person who's like, oh, I don't like them. These people are just gardeners and hotel workers and they're just nice. They just want to work at a kitchen, man. They just want a better life, bro. Well, then you show them this and you say, yeah, there's a lot of them. You might be right on some, but there's a lot of them that are doing this and they need to go. And that's what ICE is doing right now. And you can show them the facts, but they don't get the facts. They just hear the craziness. And then Phil Labonte said this: if local law enforcement aided ICE in finding and removing criminal aliens, none of this would ever happen. And that's very important. Very important point. This is only happening because there's 10 times the amount of ICE agents and deportations going on in Texas, in Florida, than Minnesota. Minnesota is a fraction. It's under 3% of the operation going on right now in our country. And it's getting all the attention. Why? Because this isn't what's everywhere. This is focused and targeted here for one reason, because they have the lefties on their side in power to foment this. Everywhere else, not everywhere else, but all the major places is going on. They are being assisted by local law enforcement, and you're not seeing any of these issues. So as always, it does come down to the left being crazy. Couples light regs. As long as Trump keeps wins coming, Maine will stay loyal and continue to see through the lies. Well, absolutely. And his approval numbers are still higher than Obama and Bush at the same point in their presidencies. His approval numbers are not high, but they're higher than previous presidents. And it's because the base is still holding on here. But this is what's important. So if Trump is at, say, somewhere between 47 and 53%, because I do believe the polls severely undercount what his support is. But if he's at that level and you have 10% of those people, okay, who are kind of like, I don't know about this. And that brings the worry, the concern. approval number now is down to 37 to 43. That's danger level of becoming a lame duck. If those people who voted for Trump and generally support him are on the fence and Trump moves too fast on the Insurrection Act, he can knock them off the fence, is my point. And you knock them off the fence and all of a sudden you don't have the support you need to follow through with some of these major operations that need to be done. So something has to come out, or enough of this has to wear on these people that they get off the fence and they're like, nope, we're all for this again. Boom, we're done. The left has gone too far. We need this to happen. This is crazy. Once that moment hits, boom, you can call the Insurrection Act because you have your base solidified. And what we're seeing right now is another psyop going on, because I see it all over X, and it's a bunch of people who understand this and yet are calling for the Insurrection Act to be done now. Why? These are people who've been skeptical of Trump, who are hard on Trump, and now they're acting like the biggest pro-Trump people in the world, screaming for the Insurrection Act. Why? Because they're activated. They're activated because they're trying to pressure Trump into making one of the biggest mistakes of his presidency, which is doing something major like this when the timing's wrong. And they know it. They absolutely know it. So you got to watch for stuff like that, because this is not something that can be handled lightly. And I'm telling you, we are seeing many, many people being exposed by how they're acting through all this. It's been going on since Trump came back. We're getting more and more exposure all the time on influencers, fake MAGA heads, libertarians, you name it. All these people who are like, oh, pro-Trump, blah, blah, blah. And now that he's back, every time they keep activating themselves in different ways, and you can see it. Because when they're pushing it so hard and being so hard on them in certain areas, despite all this winning, they're not nuanced at all. You can tell that's an operation. Forbidden says, many people want to be taken care of by a nurse who goes to protest carrying a handgun with spare mags. Yeah, pass that kind of nurse, right? Lockfeld says, okay, if no immediate invocation of the Insurrection Act and end the filibuster, impeach leftist judges, force multiply ICE in Minneapolis, assign maximum immigration to judges to Minneapolis. So they are multiplying ICE. That part is happening. That's after everything you just said, Lockfeld, that's the only one controlled by the president. Okay. Everything else would have to be Congress that you just said, except for maybe the immigration judges. But guess what just happened yesterday after this shooting? The Democrats came out, Democrat leadership, and said, we will not fund DHS in the next spending bill. Do you know when that expires? It expires in 7 days, January 31st, last day of our current spending bill. There's going to be another fight. And now, because the Democrats are going to refuse to fund DHS, odds of a government shutdown have soared up to 80% on like Polymarket. I'm telling you right now, it's 100% as of today. It's 100% we're going to have another government shutdown. The Republicans can't afford to do this. But the good news is, if Democrats put their feet down on defunding DHS and not allowing the Republicans to get another budget through, this time could open the door for the filibuster to be nuked. So that's what we need to pray for, that this finally happens. Okay. So that could lead to that. And if that happens, all of a sudden the Senate Republicans have no excuse because they can't hide anymore. And so if the filibuster gets nuked, we will see a lot of legislation start getting passed, including the SAVE Act to save our elections. Tokram says logic cancels emotion cancels logic. Where there's a tie, emotion always wins. I can tell you, Toe, you're right in that theory, but for the most part, logic wins out very, very, very rarely. It's very rarely a tie. It sometimes does happen, but people have to be very controlled for that. We have to get rid of the blue slips 100%. What's going on, Barb? All right, guys, a couple other things I want to cover before we go. But listen, this is crazy. Make sure you get this information out there because people need to see it. it's our job, if we have conversations with people, if we have any influence at all, to just try to present the facts. Don't try to change minds. Just present the facts and let people actually see what the media is not covering, because it will change a lot of minds when they see how radical this all is. So anyways, if you're enjoying this video, please hit that like, hit that subscribe. I appreciate it, guys. Support the video with the likes, the subscribes. And then if you want to support the channel, get in the description, hit that link for Patreon and join. Get a free month, get in the Discord, get the members lives, podcasts, all that stuff. I'll have a members podcast again up soon. Especially because I'm going to be snowed in for a couple days. So as long as I have power, I'll be doing some recording. Okay. Couple other things I want to cover before we go. This is very interesting here. Scott Bessent, I'm not going to play the clip, but Scott Bessent says the Greenland negotiations were a mask-off moment for several of America's supposed allies. He says there were some very unfortunate statements made by various countries. We could actually see some of these countries took their mask off. What does that mean? That means that they used Greenland, among other things. So Greenland was, the chance for us to, the way Trump came at it, he ended up getting what he wanted. So we get more strategic. For defense, we have like full control now in many ways. I know the deal's not signed yet, but come on, let's just be honest. We know it's going to happen. We're going to get to deploy where we want, get our Golden Dome up, and we're also going to get access to the minerals, all the rare earth stuff. So big win. So that was one part of Greenland, but they used it to also piss off Europe so that they would show their true colors, and show they did. We had Finland threatening war. We had Denmark flipping off the president. It was all kinds of stuff. UK, France freaking out. They are showing their true colors. He made the EU reveal who they really are right before going to Davos. It's brilliant. And now that it's all public, the Trump administration can use that and keep it as part of how they negotiate going forward. Mark Carney, that dude's totally exposed now in deeper ways. And then we have this going on. All 34 Western Hemisphere militaries are convening on February 11th. General Kane just called the first ever assembly of military leaders from every nation in the Western Hemisphere. How crazy is that? They're coordinating something, drug cartels, regional alignment, all of it maybe. Message unmistakable, Washington is consolidating control over the entire hemisphere. Wild stuff. This is where we're winning. So we keep it going. Great things are coming. China is successfully and completely taking over the once great country of Canada. So sad to see it happen. I only hope they leave ice hockey alone. Trump has been going after Canada. So listen, again, I said it earlier. They're losing so much control. Okay. The globalists, deep staters, Trump is just taking it all away from them. He's exposing them while doing it, weakening them. They're all falling apart. Well, while they're doing that, this is why Minnesota's ramping up. But we're in the after of Davos now. And we're hearing them still talking about this. Trump is putting full court pressure on Canada. Why? Because Canada is the only European nation in our hemisphere. For all intents and purposes, Canada is Europe. We got to get that out. We got to purge Europe out of here. We cannot have the EU in our hemisphere. They've been robbing us, pillaging us, taking advantage of us in so many ways for way too long. And we're done. And the one thing he hasn't said, because he's been very open about the economic way they've been cheating us, is they've been cheating our politics too. Controlling our politicians, bribing them. They are the deep state. They control the deep state. It all starts in Europe. So get Canada out, and that's going on. A couple of quick wins here. Look at this with inflation. Remember tariffs were going to cause inflation? Well, according to Trueflation, inflation is 1.2%, but if they use the Bureau of Labor Statistics weighting, inflation's only 0.5 percentage point, 0.5%. That's crazy. That is crazy. So if you guys are doubting, anybody who had doubts that the economy is not going to blow up this year, I'm telling you, we are looking very good. And if this is even close to true, which Trueflation, I believe, is even more accurate than the government's numbers, if this is true, then we can drop rates fast. And if interest rates go down 2%, 1%, holy smokes, that's going to boost the financial industry. And when you couple that with everything else coming, it's going to be crazy good times here by the end of the year. Vinman says, China and the Dems are so similar. They cause problems, come and take advantage of the people's systems they diminished or destroyed. Oh, yeah, 100%. David asks, are we not getting Iceland? I don't think so. I don't think that was ever part of it. Boswell says, in my opinion, Trump should wait until Waltz gets indicted by a grand jury to use the Insurrection Act. He might. I mean, that would make sense because then he's on record as being indicted and the system is against him. It's very possible. I think it's going to have to do more with escalation and riots, but we'll see. Trump has officially announced he's boycotting the Super Bowl, which is awesome because this Bad Bunny thing is insane. And they chose Green Day, who's like rabid Trump hater and hasn't been relevant in 25, 30 years. But they hate every Republican, especially Trump. And then this Bad Bunny guy has basically said like he's going to gay up the halftime show. And he's not going to do it in English. He's going to wear a dress. It's going to be disgusting. So I'm telling you right now, I don't know if I'm even going to watch the Super Bowl because I'm not even interested in the teams. But even if I watch the game, I'm skipping this halftime. It will not be shown in my house. And I ask everybody to do the same because even if you watch the game, but you skip out on halftime, they know the halftime is sometimes the most watched part because that brings in the casuals. The people who don't care about football will watch the halftime show. I know my wife's been one of them in the past. So this is a big deal. And if they notice during the halftime show that the viewership drops off by several millions, this won't happen again. You teach them a lesson through their wallets. And so I'm not asking anybody to boycott the whole game because that's crazy. It's football. That's impossible to ask people to do. There's too many people that love it. But we could all shut off the halftime show and check out the American halftime show that's supposedly being put on by Turning Point. And so do that. But Trump calling this out is going to have a lot of people turning off their TVs. So good for Trump. I'm glad we're calling out the NFL for this. It's insane. Oh, Green Day is beyond leftist, Lockfell, but I agree with you. Vin says, let's make Northern Greenland the new Australian-like prison for illegals. That would be great. I love that. I love it. See, everybody, yeah, lots of people saying definitely skipping halftime. Yep. Don't let them count your views for that. And then finally, I just wanted to share this because it made me laugh. And it makes me love Trump even more. It says, in secret recording, Senator Ted Cruz reportedly trashed Trump on terrace. Trump said, F you, Ted. Here's the story from Axios. Ted Cruz said Trump was in a bad mood. I've been in conversations where he's happy this wasn't one of them. Cruz told Trump, President, if we get to November 26, people 401ks are down and prices are up. We're going to go into Election Day, face a bloodbath. You're going to lose the House, the Senate, spend the next 2 years being impeached every single week. To which Trump replied, F you, Ted. Oh, my God. This is the kind of stuff that makes me love him. Ted Cruz, man. I used to be a big Ted Cruz fan because, he does vote right most of the time. He's got that very good conservative vote. But the guy's a shyster. He really is. He does it. He does the right thing a lot of the times when it comes to voting and all that, but he does it mostly for the wrong reasons. I don't think he's a true believer. I think he's always out for himself. And that's why he keeps trying to run against Trump. In 16 and apparently in 28, he wants to try to run against Vance. So, I'm not a Ted Cruz fan anymore. Let me just put it that way. Anyways. All right, guys, that's going to be the show today. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you guys. I hope you learned something. I hope you had a couple laughs. And yeah, I just appreciate you guys' time. So please like, subscribe, support the channel if you're so inclined so I can keep doing this day after day. And I do plan on being on tomorrow unless my power's out. So let's pray that this ice storm does not get worse and the power is good. So speaking of prayer, we're going to end in a prayer. And so let's do that as always, because God knows we need it. Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Father, we pray first and foremost, God, that this winter storm just is not nearly as bad as projected, because we want people safe and don't want anybody stuck in their home without power, especially not kids. And so, Lord, I just pray that power would be on as much as possible. You'd weather the storm down as much as possible, Lord. And we just thank you for your miracles and your goodness. And I thank you that even so far, the storm's been much milder than projected. So I pray that continues. And Father, just looking ahead, we pray for President Trump for wisdom. He has so many hard decisions to make almost every day. So I pray you give him wisdom and how to make those and when to make them. I pray that you protect him and everybody around him fighting for our country. And I pray for the boldness to continue to do what's right, no matter what the tide is saying to do, no matter what the influencers are saying to do. So we pray for justice, peace, and prosperity back to our nation in better ways than ever before. And I pray that all this leftist propaganda nonsense is exposed. All these protesters are exposed on a mass scale. I pray that something so massive happens that God, even the people in the middle, the people who just watch regular news, cannot ignore that something crazy is going on in Minnesota and beyond with the left and with how they're trying to lie about this whole ICE operation and so much else. So we pray that in Jesus' name, more exposure. Amen. All right, bless you guys. Thank you for watching. Appreciate you so much. Go enjoy the games. And if not into football, go, just enjoy a nice wintry, relaxing Sunday. So God bless you guys. Take care.
Headlines screaming like a siren at night. Red and blue shouting, nobody's right. Smoke in the streets, truth under attack. Everybody's loud, nobody's got facts. Feeds keep scrolling, nerves stay tight. Matchsticks flicked in the dead of night. They sell fear, cheap package the lies while the clock keeps ticking in